The Eldar are a fractured race of a once galaxy-spanning empire. Their hedonistic pleasures gave birth to the chaos god Slaanesh, and, as a result, their souls are forever damned to be consumed by the Prince of Pleasure. During the fallout of their birth, the Eldar scrambled to retain a semblance of control over their doomed lives. Being the highly emotional Xenos that they are, some would quickly give in to their now cursed existence and continue their debauchery to appease Slaanesh, while others would try to find a way to stave off their advances through discipline and control. The latter solution was established among the Asuryani, or Craftworld Eldar. They created what are known as the Paths, or Elethras, rigid disciplines that an Eldar can practice and master to better hone their highly psychic and emotional minds, so as to not fall into the depravity of Slaanesh. There are a wide variety of paths, some being more military-focused while others are more civilian-focused. An Eldar could join one that is used for unlocking certain skills. Some paths take inspiration from others, although a few unique ones can be categorized as their own things. An Eldar can take on new paths after completing their current one, and after many years, they will become much wiser and skilled at best how to manage their own lives. But an Eldar can become obsessed with a path they are on, and then refuse to leave it until their death, making them, quote, lost on that path. A healthy balance is needed, just like with all things. Now, let's learn about some of the paths that have been studied by our incredibly sneaky Imperium xenoanthropologists. To see the galaxy, you must take in every detail. The Path of Awakening. This scenic route teaches an Eldar how to analyze their surroundings to an even higher degree than their typical conspecifics. Instead of looking within in typical meditation, the Path of Awakening has the student looking without. Those who master this path are capable of noticing the smallest details of their environment, from the faintest smells to the most stealthy of traps. It takes exercising all of their senses to their limits for an Eldar to complete their training on this path.
I feel like it needs something more.
Path of the Artisan. This museum tour is a pretty common civilian path that many Eldar take on. It has many sub-paths, such as the Path of the Poet, the Path of the Sculptor, the Path of Finger Painting, and so on. Going from artist to artiste can help an Eldar rise better in social circles, while also contributing to the creative aspects of their Craftworld's culture. Being lost on this path can see an Eldar constantly trying to perfect their craft without ever seeing satisfactory improvements.
Bred to be purple and glowing without the infection of chaos corruption.
Path of the Botanist. This garden road is responsible for teaching the Eldar how to tend to and grow the plants that thrive throughout a craft world. It consists of farmers, gardeners, and greenhouse caretakers among a craft world's population. This path is a more specialized subset of another, the Path of Service. Being able to grow food is an important job in any society, even more so when the plants involved are some of the last remaining species in the galaxy.
Fear the old, in a civilization that is on the brink of extinction.
The Path of Command. This way to glory is also known as the Path of the Leader. It is where the autarchs tread, military leaders that have mastered several paths, including different sects within the Path of the Warrior. An Eldar with this resume can be selected to enter the Path of Command and put them on the path to leading a war host. Autarchs will assemble when craft worlds are called to war, a situation that is normally avoided given how minuscule the Eldar race is. They are veterans without compare in craft world society. Autarchs have spent literal centuries of their lives taking in all the knowledge and skills they can master from various paths. They are even allowed to carry different tools of war with them from the different aspect shrines they've studied under. Once a combat school has been mastered, an Autarch will be given a chosen weapon or armor set from the Aspect Shrine in a ritual known as Ra'an Lona, or the Covenant of the War Gift. Their warlust, no doubt brought on by their decades of warrior training, will have them be devastating and devoid of fear. But they will still be in control of themselves as they focus on destroying key targets of an enemy's ranks. Many autarchs lead from the front line, and they know that if they fall, then the fate of their craft world will be drastically altered for the worst. Eat, drink, make merry, my fellows, but know your limits. One repeat of last time. Path of the Celebrant. This Cupid shuffle is all about training the positive emotions of an Eldar to be more controlled and not flare into a highly psychic mania. A celebrant will appear during joyous events such as births, alliances, and victories to celebrate on behalf of their stoic kindreds. They will channel the overall mood of an event in Eldar society and make sure that joy is spread throughout for everyone, even those that are undisciplined enough to show it. This is important for the highly emotional Eldari, as an overexcess of emotions can attract Slaaneshi warp entities. Remember, party on, but know when to stop, yeah? Keeping the present to become the past to teach the future. It's a merry-go-round of life. Path of the Chronicler. This walkway of history instructs historians in the art of proper record-keeping. They are incredibly important during diplomatic meetings between other craft worlds, especially when they involve other Xenos. When a craft world is called to war, chroniclers will be sure to take mental notes even in the heat of battle, as everyone is required to come to their craft world's defense. Their notes become increasingly more detailed, and their handwriting speed is practically word to Wraithbone tablet after significant time has been spent on this path. It'll be a beautiful baby, Furta. Then it'll fly the skies of our vast craft world. Path of the Cultivator. This safari is responsible for teaching the ways of raising creatures within a craft world. The ways of teaching an Eldar to respect those that need their care and nurturing are necessary given that their species is very prideful. They are especially interested in the techniques of beast taming that the Exodites are known for. And, of course, they are the ones responsible for raising the livestock on a craft world, as food is a necessity. It's not a phase anymore, monkey. The Path of Damnation. The Black Parade that is not talked about often amongst the Asuryani, and for good reason. Individuals who find themselves entirely fed up with the path system and wish for complete dissociation from their forsaken Asuryani will leave their craft world and break all ties with it. Instead of giving in to the rigidness of the paths, they will instead take on the methods of how their damned cousins keep Slaanesh at bay, rejuvenating themselves on the psychic anguish of others that will keep them eternally young and physically strong. Frustrated Asuryani that find themselves unable to see progress in their psychic control and growth might seek out this path. Shamed Asuryani that have committed harmful acts against their craft world might flee down this path out of necessity for survival. Most who go this route will find themselves amongst the Drukhari of Komarog. Solitaires are known to tread this path in a different sense. Their souls are doomed to be consumed by Slaanesh unless their laughing god successfully intervenes. In the meantime, they are also granted extraordinary skills and gifts. The commonality with this path is that the Eldar in question resigns themselves to being put directly on the first course plate of She Who Thirsts. A soul is a precious thing in this universe, and these Eldar sell it with full knowledge of what will happen. Oathway requires your aid, Bieltan. Okay, you can say no. But we are fighting orcs. I thought so. Your 10 squadrons will be graciously received. Path of the Diplomat. The road of good intentions trains those to communicate with other craft worlds and bargain for necessary policies. Diplomats will usually only speak to others of their profession among the other craft worlds. They will be given positions of great responsibility, despite mainly being a civilian path. Their ability for telepathic communication will be exercised while studying this profession, as long-distance communication will be commonplace. Also, an Eldar's sharp-witted mind will be made even sharper, as political deals and favors will be negotiated at incredible speeds. The diplomat will have to think multiple steps ahead to maintain control of negotiations or debates. I'll be safe from her. In our dreams. Path of the Dreamer. This boulevard of broken dreams is one taken on by many Eldari for good reason. Even in their sleep, an Eldar is still vulnerable to the terrors of Slaanesh. To dream means putting your mind and emotions to their highest levels of activity, and the Prince of Pleasure will take notice of this. An untrained mind will find itself under all kinds of torment by the Chaos God, but the path of the dreamer can prevent this. An Eldar who masters this will be able to fully control their dreamscapes and be able to sleep without worry. Also, they can stay in these meditative states for days. Dream watchers, those more experienced in this path, will watch over the dreamer to make sure they don't suffer any physical consequences for sleeping too long. By mastering their dreams, an Eldar will have the peace of mind knowing that there will always be one place they know they will be safe from danger.
Cry, sob. Let me suffer for you. Do not give in to despair.
Path of the Mourner. This coffin dance funeral march is the polar opposite of the path of the celebrant. Instead of focusing on controlling positive feelings and not getting lost in mania, the path of the mourner teaches its students to handle negative emotions and not get thrown into mental despair and anguish. Eldar on this path will act as professional mourners during sad events like services or funerals. They allow their fellow Asuryani to mourn without getting swept up in a whirlwind of grief which could tempt Slaanesh. Grief is important, and masters of this path help others manage it.
Our cousins developed a new poison, it seems. We'll find an antidote by the end of the day.
Path of the Healer. The Doctor's Way includes Eldar physicians, surgeons, and even biomedical researchers. The healing technology at the disposal of the Eldar can be said to be miraculous by the other races. Sometimes, they see it as personal challenges to find ways to reverse the damage the Drukhari have inflicted on those they raid. Those on the path of the healer will gain a sense of respect for life and the ability to save it in times of need. Sometimes, they'll carry emergency spirit stones in case of a crisis.
Give the rear thrusters more power. We're taking this sacred vessel to ludicrous speed.
Path of the Mariner. This highway to the danger zone teaches the piloting of Eldari spacecraft. This path encompasses pilots, officers, and crewmen. Piloting a starship is already a monumental task, but these are Asuryani starships. These are massive wraithbone constructs that must be interfaced with psychically, oftentimes as a group for more difficult maneuvers. After much practice, a pilot will feel like the ship is an extension of themselves. They will be able to do maneuvers as advanced as turning a ship immediately 180 degrees around to make hit-and-run moves. Making incredibly accurate hits on enemy ships will be incredibly easy for them. Those that walk the path of the Mariner will usually do so to see more of the galaxy and seek a sense of inner peace. They will perfect their crafts to sail their crafts in defense of their beloved craft worlds, moving in harmony with the psychic resonance of their ships.
I abandoned the path to find my own. I've learned so much along the way.
Path of the Outcast. This way of the Wanderer is a very unique path in that it is considered outside the path system. Eldar who feel too constrained and restricted by the rules of their craft world will choose to become outcasts and venture out into the galaxy. There, they will be at their most vulnerable due to their psychic minds possibly becoming beacons for demons. But outcasts simply see this as another challenge and seek a life where they can be free and still have self-control. Some who tread this path will choose to become rangers or shroud runners, heavily scout-focused roles that seek out lost artifacts, alien planets, or lost webway gates. Those who wish to test the limits of this path choose to become Eldar Corsairs, space elf pirates. Corsairs are called Anhrathe in the Eldar tongue, and they enjoy almost limitless freedom, but they choose not to fall into the depravity of their Drukhari cousins. They will sail the stars seeking riches and dangers of all kinds, while trying to make a legacy from their piracy. Corsair fleets can be made up of Eldar from any background, former Harlequins, Drukhari raiders, mainly outcasts, etc. The main thing that both outcasts and corsairs bring back with them to their craft worlds are stories. Stories that inspire the youth of their species to seek more from their lives. Narratives that make it difficult for some Asuryani to remain on their current paths. Eldar are always searching for more worldly wisdom and experiences that will better themselves spiritually. It is really the path that lets an Eldar create their own journeys and decisions that hopefully see them grow more as a person by the end.
My brother became a harlequin. I guess he thought our path wasn't theatrical enough.
Path of the Player. This backstage pass mainly deals with the performing arts side of Eldar's civilization. Specifically, the practitioners of this path focus on the myths and legends of the Eldar. The players keep these stories alive across the generations through the performances of song, dance, and theater. Whenever a craft world is visited by a harlequin troupe, members of this path enjoy sharing lessons with them and vice versa.
And that, everyone, is the optimal angle to decapitate 3 Losayans with a single shuriken pistol shot.
Path of the Scholar. This Scholar's Road is where the Eldar go to learn academics and study knowledge that they will then use to pass on to others in this path, or to those who wish to know more about a specific subject. It is a path for those who create and transmit new information to others. Professions on this path include teachers, scientific researchers, archaeologists, tutors, etc.
Setting a timeline to your specifications would be so much easier if the threads weren't all wibbly-wobbly.
Path of the Seer. The most dangerous way, Eldar who travel this route will test their psychic powers to their limits, and maybe even shatter them. The Path of the Seer is also known as the Witch Path, for its teachings are incredibly convoluted and wrapped in mysticism. Those who wish to master the psychic arts join this path, where they can end up in one of several different roles. Collectively, they are all known as Seers, and they are given different titles depending on what they specialize in. Spirit Seers are able to handle the energies of spirit stones and raise the souls of the dead to inhabit the various wraith constructs that make up an Eldari army. With their assistance, the departed of a craft world can still fight to protect it and those they love. Warlocks are the Eldar equivalent of battle psychers, but they are far stronger in both control and psychic talent. Their previous time spent in the path of the warrior makes them more inclined to develop destructive psychic talents. A warlock's military training and psychic prowess makes them excellent squad leaders, since they are able to apply buffs and maneuver troops to better maximize their offensive psychic skills. The ultimate title one can achieve on this path is known as Farseer, the rank given to those who are lost to this path. Farseers are essentially the leaders of their respective craft worlds, their unparalleled wisdom, might, and skills of foresight enabling them to guide the fate of their people. It is a massive responsibility, and Farseers will often spend days in collective groups looking through the threads of the future to make sure that the best possible outcome for their craft world will come true. The fate of a Farseer is one that is highly revered by those under them, because, as they grow older, their body will start to slowly turn into psychocrystal, their minds having spent such a long time linked to the wraithbone core of their craft world. This is the beginning of their transformation into something called a Crystal Seer. Before they petrify completely, the Farseer will make their way to a structure in the craft world known as the Dome of the Crystal Seers, a place lined with shimmering statues. There, the old Farseer will take up a position next to the figures and remain inside. Their body will completely crystallize, and they will join their kin as a statue connected to the craft world's infinity circuit forever.
We were once too comfortable. We forgot what it meant to put our sweat and tears into our work.
The Path of Service. This charity drive is for those who wish to aid their fellow Eldar in menial tasks. Those on this path will grow a great work ethic and develop a sense of community and empathy with their neighbors. Some even take on this path for a sense of spiritual fulfillment. Even though many tasks on a craft world are fully automated, there are still some jobs that require physical labor. Jobs in this path can include all kinds of different services such as cooking, cleaning, gathering, errand running, tailoring, transporting, etc. It isn't uncommon for those who take up this path to go on to undertaking more militant paths. Younger Asuryani tend to number in the majority of students taking this route, as many life skills can be learned from it. Sing a high note into the warp, and the material starts to balloon. Sing a low note, and it starts to flatten. Sing Bohemian Rhapsody, and you build a Void Stalker. The Path of Shaping. This under construction road is an incredibly important path that is a specialization of the path of the Artisan, with strong ties to the path of the Seer. It is the path where Asuryani train to become bone singers, artisans that are capable of channeling the immaterium to construct items made of wraithbone. Wraithbone is a valuable substance to the Asuryani. It is solidified warp energy that is known to be stronger than plasteel and harder to damage than adamantium. Another neat property of it is that wraithbone naturally repairs itself should it be damaged, and with a bone singer's assistance, the regeneration can happen even faster. Wraithbone is also known to be incredibly effective as a weapon against warp entities, being crystallized warp energy. But the most important thing it can do is act as a psychic conductor that allows psychic energies to travel throughout its components to relay commands and actions to what needs to be operated. Almost like a cable or a circuit board carrying electricity to turn on or off mechanical functions. A Craftworld's Infinity Circuit is also made up of wraithbone, and it keeps the souls of departed Eldar safe from chaos incursions. Knowing this, it isn't hard to imagine how significant bone singers are in Craftworld society. Their path is one that lets them make art from their psychic abilities, and, like most psychic abilities, the scale of what they can build increases if there are more bone singers around to sing in concert with each other. As is self-evident, they must sing to channel warp energy into wraithbone, and they must be synchronized in this endeavor, as different parts of a construction must not interfere with each other, or else the structure will not function properly. Instruments are also used while this is happening, and it is always a sight to behold for an Eldar to witness a choir at work. Members of the Path of the Player and Path of the Artisan are known to be very curious about these performances, and will always try to make sure they get front row seats. Greetings. Path of the Thought Talker. This route of least resistance is one that trains Eldar ambassadors that will communicate with other races. A Thought Talker is an Asuryani telepath that is capable of using their abilities to convey their translated thoughts directly into a subject's mind. The Thought Talker doesn't have to know a subject's language to negotiate with them, as the thoughts they message are simple enough for any intelligent species to understand, so long as their conceptions of reality do not wildly differ from that of the Eldar. The Tau Watercast are perpetually fascinated by this ability.
Hundreds of lifetimes and the war is still not finished yet. Maybe this one will be the final reincarnation.
Path of the Warrior. This bloody pilgrimage is one that most Asuryani will volunteer to join at one point or another in their lives. There are many branches on this path known as warrior aspects, which each teach a different fighting style. On a craft world, there are essentially dojos that are called aspect shrines, where those who tread the path of the warrior go to train to become aspect warriors. Each shrine comes with its own weapons, battle garb, jutsus, iconography, and battlefield roles. Certain shrines are unique to certain craft worlds, but the more common ones are always present. Also, shrines are ever present on the Asuryani's void ships, should a craft world be lacking in one. The training an aspect warrior endures makes the Eldar a master of their own body and mind. Every movement is precise, and no effort is wasted. They will also learn how to strategize and move alongside their neighboring aspect warriors to bring about the most efficient destruction onto their enemies. When an aspect warrior goes into battle, they will mentally prepare themselves by donning war masks. These are basically personalities warriors will adopt to keep them focused on their mission and throw away personal attachments. Those lost on this path can never remove their masks, and it is at this point that an aspect warrior becomes an exarch. Exarchs are high priests of the Eldar war god Cain, and will become teachers of their respective aspect shrines. They are given armor dotted in spirit stones that allows them to call upon the strength of those residing within them, and they will be held in both fear and awe by their fellow Eldar. Now, when an Exarch is chosen to don the gear of their shrine's Phoenix Lord, they will have a chance to become part of a legend. A Phoenix Lord was the first Exarch of their founded Aspect Shrine, and they are revered highly by most of the entire Eldar race. Their soul stone and, of course, soul, resides in the armor of the chosen Exarch. Eventually, both the Phoenix Lords and the still-alive Exarch's souls will resonate, and the Phoenix Lord will be technically reborn into a new life. Now they are free again to roam the stars, fulfilling the tasks put upon them by their war god until the time comes when the galaxy begins its final battle with chaos. This will be known as Rio Giela Balar, the Gathering of Fire. Thank you for listening to this video about a rather uncommonly talked about subject in 40k lore. What other paths do you all think could exist for the Eldar? I like to think there is a path of asceticism for those who wish to become Exodites. If you enjoyed the video, then please like and subscribe. Subscribing lets you see my community notes that I put out when I'm working on new videos. Now, on to the next lore video. You'll be none the wiser after listening to it.